Hello everyone. In this video we are going to go over answers um, for volume formulas module 21 for the review. Here we go. Hopefully you have tried the problems before you're looking at the answers. So number 1 and 2 we're using the same figure. A company makes specialized fish tanks for office buildings. And so number 1, what is the volume of the tank in cubic feet? So we know that this is a rectangular prism. So we're giving the length, the width, and the height. So the volume is actually length times width times height, which is 9 times 3 times 2. And that gives us a 54 cubic feet. Volume is always in cubic feet. So the answer is C for number 1. Number 2, a different tank has a volume of 576 cubic inches. What are the possible dimensions of this tank? So the only one that's going to give this combination is if we have 12 times 6 times 8. So the answer is B, which is when you have 12 times 6 times 8. That will give you 576 cubic inches. Number 3 to 4, we're using the same two figures. Number 3, which of the following is true about the volume of the cylinders? And so in order for us to actually find the volume, what is true, the volume is that because they have the same height and the same diameter, um, the fact is that they're both going to have the same volume. So the answer is A. Number 4, what is the volume of cylinder B to the nearest whole number? So since they are the same, we're going to actually just use the dimensions for the first one. So diameter is 6 and the height is 8. So since this is a cylinder, we are going to start with the formula for the volume of a cylinder, which is pi r squared h. And since we know that the diameter is 6, we know that the radius is half, which is 3 centimeters. So we're going to substitute the 3 in there. And then the height is actually 8. And then multiplying everything together, 9 times 8 is 72 pi centimeters cubic, or approximately 226 centimeters cubic. So both of these are answers for number 4. Moving on to number 5 and 6, we're using the same figure. So looks like this is a pyramid. Number 5, what is the volume of the pyramid rounded to the nearest cubic inches? Show your work. So we know that the volume for a pyramid is actually 1/3 the area of the base times height. And since we are given that the area of the base is actually 25 square inches, we can substitute that in. And we know that the height is 7. So multiplying everything together, we should have 58 cubic inches, and that is answer choice A. Number 6, we're using this figure right here. Suppose the pyramid shown above sits exactly on top of a cube. So what is the truth about the volume of the composite figure? So this will involve the volume of the cube as well. So the volume of the cube should equal to side cube. And since we know that this is the area of the base is 25, we can actually conclude that this cube has a length, width, and height of 25. So the volume of the cube is going to be side cube, which is 5 cube, which is 125. So the total volume of the composite figure is going to be the cube, which is 125, plus the pyramid, which we found on top was 58. And together you add it up, you will get 183 cubic inches. Number 7, what fraction goes in the blank? A square, pyramid, and cube um, have the same side measures and height, and the volume um, of the pyramid is blank times the volume of the cube. So we know that for a square, pyramid, and a cube, they will have the same base. But we know that the pyramid will only have 1/3 because the volume for the regular um, prism or pyramid, this is a prism right here. So this is a prism. So the volume is area of the base times height. But for a pyramid, it's actually volume equals 1/3 area of the base times height. So we know that there is a 3-time difference. So if you multiply this by 3, you will get the volume of the prism. So the answer is 3. That's the front side. Let's take a look at the back side. A cylinder and cone have the same diameter and height. What is true about the volume of the cylinder compared to the volume of the cone? So this is kind of like the same idea that the volume of a cylinder is actually area of the base times height, or pi r squared times h. And then the volume of the cone is, again, 1/3 area of the base times height, or 1/3 pi r squared h. So the difference, again, is that the volume of the cylinder is 3 times the volume of the cone. That's the difference. Number 9. The cone has a height of 7 centimeters and a diameter of 5. Which of the following represents the volume? So the first thing that I'm going to interpret is, because the diameter is 5, I'm going to take the radius, which is only 2.5, half of that. So that's the first thing I noticed. Now to find the volume of this cone, we're going to use the formula 1/3 pi r squared h. And so it is 1/3 pi, the radius is 2.5, square that. The height is 7, it's already given. So multiplying it all together, that will actually, we don't even need to multiply. We already have the answer. It should be exactly C. Number 10. A rectangular block has a volume of 300 cubic inches. A cone-shaped portion has been removed. The diameter of the cone is 4 inches. So it's telling you the diameter of the cone is 4, which means the radius is 2 inches. That's the first thing I'm going to make a note. What's the remaining volume of the prism? So we know that the volume of the remaining volume is equal to the volume of the cube, or not cube, the rectangular prism actually, minus the volume of the cone. So to find the volume of the prism, it's just going to be length times width times height. So that will be, let's start with the formulas. Length times width times height minus 1/3 pi r squared h. That's the volume of a cone. So length times width times height, that's 5 times 10 times 6 minus 1/3 pi, and the radius of the cone is 2 squared. And the height is going to be the same as the actual prism, so it should be 6 again. And so let's simplify. This first part is going to give us 300, minus here is going to give us 4 times 6 is 24, divided by 3, that's going to give us 8 pi. Or we can approximate that and do the subtraction. You should get 275 cubic inches is the answer, and that would be answer choice C. Number 11. A cone has a diameter of 2 inches and a height of 6, which means the radius is going to be 1 inch. That's half of 2. Which of the following would increase the volume the most? So if we actually increase, the answer choice is going to be B. If we increase the radius by 1 inch, that is going to give us the most. Because if you increase the diameter by 1, that's only going to give us a half inch increase in the radius. But if you increase, so that will give us like the for this one, answer choice C, the radius is going to be 1.5. This is going to give us the radius of 2 inches. And then increasing the height is not going to help, because we know the formula for the cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. So the r is going to get the square. The radius is going to get the square, and that's going to grow the biggest. when that number goes up. So the answer choice is B. Number 12, what is the volume of the composite figure in terms of pi? So the total volume is going to be the volume of the cone that's in the bottom, so plus the volume of half the sphere. Okay, so we're going to need the formula for the volume of the cone, which is 1/3 pi r squared h, plus the volume of a semi-sphere. So we know that a full sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, but we don't want the whole sphere. We only want half of that. So that actually is 2/3 pi r cubed. So hopefully you understand that the volume of a semi-sphere is 2/3 pi r cubed. So let's go ahead and substitute the numbers in. We know that the radius is actually 12. Square that. And then the height of the, so the height right here is tricky. We're going to need to make use of the Pythagorean theorem because this is actually a right triangle. So we have one of the sides is given, that's 12. So let's do the math on the side right here. So 12 squared plus, we'll call it h. H squared is equal to 20 squared. 144 plus h squared equals 400. Subtract 144 from both sides. I'll have h squared equals 256. And take the square root of both sides. I'll have h equals 16. So my height is actually 16 centimeters. So we're going to substitute that in. And then 2/3 pi radius, once again, is 12. Cube that. Doing the math all together here should give me a reduced answer of 768 pi. And then over here is 1152 pi. Adding them together should give me a total of 1920 pi, and that is cubic centimeters. And that's answer choice A. Number 13, a hemisphere sits on top of a cylinder as described in this figure. And the measures are for the diameter, looks like it's 6, so which means tells me that the radius automatically, I just like to convert it into radius, and then the height is 5. So the total volume for this figure is given by the volume of the cylinder plus the volume of the semisphere. So the formula for the sphere is pi r squared h for the volume. And we already said earlier on top that we did the work right here to show that a semisphere has 2/3 pi r cubed. So I'm going to use that formula for the semisphere. And then now we're going to just substitute the values in. So the radius, I said, it's 3 squared. The height is 5 plus 2/3 pi, and the radius is again 3, and cube that. So doing the math together, we should have this whole first part is going to give us 45 pi, plus the second part is going to give me 18 pi. Added together is 63 pi, or looks like the answers are going to be rounded to decimal, so it's 198 cubic feet. So make sure you guys multiply by pi, not 3.14, to get the exact answer. And it looks like B is my answer choice. Number 14, the last question I think on this review, is a sphere sits inside a cylinder and touches all sides. So this is the sphere. The radius of the sphere is 10 centimeters. What is the volume of the cylinder outside the sphere? So once again, the total volume is going to involve a subtraction problem right here. Is the volume of the total cylinder minus the volume of the sphere. So this, the cylinder has a pi r squared h for the volume. And the sphere, once again, it is 4/3 pi r cubed. So the full sphere actually we're using this time, 4/3. And then substituting the numbers in, we're going to have pi, radius is 10, square that. The height for the cylinder is actually 2 radius together. I don't know if you realize that, but it's actually the diameter, so it's 10 and 10. So that means 20 minus 4/3 pi, and the radius is 10, cube that. This whole thing will give me 2000 pi, and then this will give me 1333.3 pi. Subtracting together, I will have 666 times 0.7 pi, or approximately 2093 centimeters cubic, and that looks like answer choice A. So that is the conclusion of this review. If you need to go back to review any of the answers, feel free to do so. Have a nice day. Good luck on your test.